Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an absolutely fantastic day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So, I'll tell you a little story. Back in the olden days, around 2015, 2016, there was mainly only Bitcoin. That is to say, Bitcoin was the talk of the town. It was the everything. And a lot of people began to make copies of Bitcoin. I'll lightly say Litecoin was a copy, what have you. But a lot of other coins began to pop up as well. There were coins called Bitcoin Dark, which I think later on became Dash, if I'm not mistaken. There was Bitcoin Red, there was Bitcoin Blue, you name it. There were a multitude of different Bitcoins that began to pop up. There was Vertcoin and all these other things, and these coins were marketed as replacements for Bitcoin. Everyone knew and still knows now that Bitcoin is only 3 transactions per second on the main chain. It's very slow, but the world works with it. So other people began to say, well, I can make a better coin. And this is where we got XRP. This is where we got Ethereum, where we got the makings of Cardano and Tron and yada, yada, yada. All of those coins still up until this point, at least at the time of me making this video, have not usurped Bitcoin. What ended up happening was that people realized that they could actually attack Bitcoin in different ways. Many years ago, there were a lot of people, and once again the name pops up, Andreas Antonopoulos being one of them, who said that people would try to find as many ways as possible to attack Bitcoin that they could. And we believed at that point, some of the only ways were kind of going onto the news, going onto CNBC, or going to the Wall Street Journal, and talking about Bitcoin did this, talking about Silk Road did that, talking about this website had this problem, and kind of all latching them onto Bitcoin and saying, well, Bitcoin's clearly only for criminals. By the time we got to around 2017 and Bitcoin's price was really moving, the previous all-time high was $1,200. That's when I first heard about it, and I was like, what is this thing? And then a lot of other people really began to give Bitcoin attention around the time it got to around 5,000 or so US dollars in 2017. The previous all-time high was 1,200. So hitting 5,000, people were like, this might have some legs. This might actually be able to really do something. How high could this coin's price go? A lot of other people, as in the cryptocurrency space I've mentioned before, nearly all of these people know each other. They went to the same universities. They went to the same schools. They used to work for Yahoo together. They made companies and made websites together that became relatively popular. They sold them off to other companies, made tons of money, and at some point began to work in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And then that's also continuing from that. A lot of them at some point began to say, well, I can do it better. And they ended up making their own coins. And this is where a lot of the connections actually come from. The dispute began many years ago, and I believed at the time that it was an actual dispute. I believe this was an actual problem. But the issue actually ended up being, as always, it was just about money. So people began to say, well, Bitcoin's too slow. Bitcoin will never make it. Bitcoin simply isn't going to be the coin that we're all going to be using in 10, 15, 20 years. This was well before the idea of the Lightning Network. So a lot of people began to propose other ways to attack Bitcoin, and it was the idea of simply going above the 21 million coins. For those of you who don't know, the 21 million, in essence, at least for hyper Bitcoin maximalists, mathematically is in some way sacred. You can't break the 21 million. We see it's written inside of the protocol. We know that there will only ever be on Bitcoin the number one coin, 21 million coins. However, if you decide to fork Bitcoin and then name it something similar, this new coin that comes out of the dirty ashes from the ground, you can confuse people. And this was a very big thing once again back in good old 2017. As the mania began to pick up and people realized that there was a lot of money to be made in the market, a lot of people began to announce that they were going to be forking Bitcoin. They claimed that they were doing this, and once again, I believed this years ago because they were trying to actually help Bitcoin in some sort of way. So you go, that makes sense. They're trying to make a brand new version of Bitcoin. You don't understand the actual politics and money that are like behind all of this when it comes to how much people really want to push out, usurp, get rid of other people. This applies to people talking negatively about XRP, about Ethereum, about Tether, about Changpeng Zhao. There's a lot behind the scenes that we simply ourselves are not privy to, but we get drops into a bucket every now and again when you see what's actually happening in the news. By the time that Bitcoin was nearing around 10,000 US dollars, there began to be a lot of rumors that a brand new Bitcoin was going to pop up. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, I need this brand new Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin went from 1 cent to $10,000 where it currently is, of course, this brand new Bitcoin is going to do the exact same thing and it's going to change the entire world, and I'm going to be absolutely wealthy. What ended up happening is that someone who used to be very popular in the cryptocurrency space, he's very obscure now. He kind of went back into the shadows, not in a joking way, but people don't talk about him anymore. He announced that he was going to be forking Bitcoin because he wanted Bitcoin to be quicker. He claimed to have found a way to produce more blocks, to have more throughput, to have all these other things to make Bitcoin the thing that it should have been from the very beginning. This was also the start of the time where a lot of people who may or may have not, probably not, had any contact with Satoshi Nakamoto began to claim that they were either Satoshi Nakamoto and or that they had been in contact with him, they knew him, they had lunch with him, they knew his true desires, they knew what he wanted for Bitcoin. Very large claims, and it can usually be backed up if you have a lot of money. Well, I'm rich, I'm amazing, I'm awesome. Why would you say that I did not know Satoshi Nakamoto? It caused a lot of fervor and anger and weirdness in the cryptocurrency space, a lot of which still lingers even to today. By the time we got towards the end of 2017, it was announced that the brand new Bitcoin called Bitcoin Cash was going to be launched. The idea of Bitcoin Cash was that it's Bitcoin, but in a cash version. This is the version that you can use outside with your friends. The old Bitcoin is way too slow. We found the answer. A lot of the larger players within the Bitcoin space, back then people who were like the original Bitcoin maximalists, did not fall for it. A lot of other people, seeing that this new coin was going to be a thing, began to like feverishly rush towards it. They really wanted this brand new coin. A lot of greed, a lot of speculation, of course. It's part of the cryptocurrency space. What ended up happening is that no crypto exchange announced that they were going to be having support for it. Because in essence, in reality, there is only one Bitcoin and will ever be one Bitcoin. You can make a new chain, you can even fork Bitcoin, and you can call it B!TCO!N. It looks like Bitcoin, but it will never ever be Bitcoin because we know on the main chain that has all these transactions from over the last 14 years, that is the true chain. When deciding not to list this brand new Bitcoin Cash, in true greedy fashion, that's the way that I'll say it, a lot of people began to, at that time, Coinbase was the crypto exchange to go to. There were, of course, others, but no one really went to them. It was mainly Coinbase who had the entirety of the market share until Binance came along. People began to then tell Coinbase in very mean letters and on things on Twitter and on Reddit, I'm going to sue you. Why? The most famous one, the most famous and most ridiculous idea that ended up picking up steam, that for some reason people ended up using as the actual excuse was, well, let's say Coinbase is a farm and I give you my Bitcoin, my cow, to have on your farm. If at some point that cow, that Bitcoin, produces milk, that other coin, therefore, is then mine. Basically meaning from Bitcoin, the terrible, terrible child known as Bitcoin Cash was brought forth. And Coinbase, in essence, had these coins as well, as anyone who had the original coin got the new split off coin. But Coinbase was like, no, we are a Bitcoin only exchange. People became furious at the idea that Some people were mentioning back then on Reddit, well, I have 5 Bitcoin. Where are my 5 Bitcoin cash? Because the idea was, once again, if Bitcoin can go this high, well, clearly Bitcoin Cash can do the exact same thing. Where's my 100K? Where's the money that I owe? Like, where's my gigantic slice of the pie, if you will? This began the downfall of a larger part of the cryptocurrency space, where people could basically scream legal action against the cryptocurrency exchange, and other people began to scream even louder. Coinbase bent and said, okay, fine. I think if my memory serves me correctly, I believe it was December of that year, they said they would allow people to have and to be able to withdraw their Bitcoin Cash. This started the downfall of much of the cryptocurrency space, because at least 80% of the space really understood what decentralization meant, what Bitcoin was for, and who it was for. It's for everyone and not just the wealthy. But also just the idea that we knew that other proposals had already been made to quicken and strengthen Bitcoin. We knew that Bitcoin as a computer, as a protocol, I've had people screaming to me before on this channel, Bitcoin runs on computers. Bitcoin is a computer program. I'm sorry if you think that Bitcoin is a living, walking person, but I can't help you on that matter. As a system, as a machine, it can be upgraded and will be upgraded. We have many different proposals. We also have Liquid. Liquid is mainly for crypto exchanges who are swapping Bitcoin amongst themselves. It is nearly instantaneous, the same exact way that the Lightning Network is. We know that the main core chain will probably never be hyper upgraded. It will have little tweaks every now and again, but other chains and side chains and federated chains and other layers will be the main components of sending money around on Bitcoin, especially smaller amounts. It is believed that in the future, if you are trying to send 200,000, 2 million, $14.7 million, you will use the main chain, as it will be and has always been the most secure. The downfall of the cryptocurrency market really began when people realized that they could basically make other copies of Bitcoin. And that's where we got Bitcoin Gold and we got Bitcoin Diamond, both claiming to be the brand new Bitcoin. They saw the success, air quotes, that Bitcoin Cash had, and therefore we can do the exact same thing. The emergence of meme coins began to also pick up as well. Dogecoin was the only meme coin, and people understood that it was a meme. It was just a joke. Because Bitcoin, and at that point, Ethereum and XRP were kind of the top dogs. It was coins that had a purpose, or the guesstimation was that at some point in the future, these coins would be heavily used, as they currently are right now at the time of me making this video. These coins are now like the winners of the space. However, that wasn't enough, and a lot of other coins began to pop up. I mean, tons of other coins, other copies of Ethereum, other copies of these other things, but one really stuck out and caused a huge amount of damage within the cryptocurrency space. There have, at least for the last 7 or 8 years, been a lot of people who, once again, have claimed to know Satoshi Nakamoto and or have been them. One in particular became extremely popular, and part of the problem is that within any financial situation, or within the financial world, or within the cryptocurrency space, if you are new to the space, if you don't know as much, and that is not a, talking down to something, it's more of a, if you haven't been here for 10 years and you've only been here for 6 months, you are going to know a lot less than someone who's been here for a decade. A lot of people began to believe that there was an actual individual in the space who might actually be Satoshi Nakamoto. They, over the course of the last 7 years, actually took a number of people to court who contested that they were Satoshi Nakamoto, and nothing ever actually came to fruition. I think they actually won one of their lawsuits, which was absolute nonsense, and I think there's a lot of corruption behind that. But the other portion is that they were never able to claim, they were never able to show a court. One of the more famous court cases was that the judge simply said, if you are Satoshi Nakamoto, please show us the first transactions on the blockchain. We know for a fact that the first transactions and the first mining of Bitcoin happened with Satoshi. he mined the first coins. And therefore, we can only assume that as you are this hyper level Super Saiyan God within the space and you created Bitcoin, can you just show us proof of the first transactions? Can you show us any transactions from 2009 when you were, beginning to run the platform? And these were never procured. These were never shown. These were never an actual thing. So what ended up happening is that legend has it, not even legend, this actually took place, is this person came forward and told a number of people that they were Satoshi Nakamoto. I created Bitcoin. I created all of this. And this is my vision. What's happening to Bitcoin is not what I wanted. I expected something completely different from the entirety of this market and from this coin. I wanted Bitcoin to be able to scale at a rapid pace. I wanted Bitcoin to be able to do this. Why is Bitcoin not doing that? I am Satoshi Nakamoto, and therefore I say Bitcoin should be this way. And therefore it was announced that a brand new version of Bitcoin was going to be launched. Part of the problem was, once again, is that this was destroying, back then, the idea of there being only 21 million Bitcoin. You have to understand that even being in this space for, I think, 2 or 3 years at that point for me, it was a little unnerving that there was going to be another Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin was only 21 million, but there were 2 other Bitcoin that were floating out there, does that mean that Bitcoin's maximum is 63 million? Even further of a problem is that brand new people who got into the space did not understand what was actually happening, that it was a fork of a fork, that the protocol was simply torn apart, torn in half, and one side of the chain continued growing while the other one kind of withered and festered away into its own whatever. This new coin would be called Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's Vision, because the person who created it claimed that they were Satoshi Nakamoto and that this was their vision for what Bitcoin should have actually been. On the date of this coin's creation, when the fork happened, Bitcoin's price fell by 50%. You can find it on the charts. You can see when was BSV created. You can look at the price charts and you will see on that day Bitcoin's price collapsed. Why? Because Bitcoin had once again, in theory, broken in half and therefore lost half of its value once again. These were the attacks on Bitcoin that we didn't expect would happen and that have kind of all, in essence, kind of stopped. We may still have people from platforms like Charlie Munger and other places who don't know what they're talking about, but they continue to say that Bitcoin is 1, 2, and 3 as opposed to what it actually is. But this was kind of the main rock to Bitcoin's face at that time, because it was yet another version of Bitcoin that people were lied to and the public was told that this was the true Bitcoin. A lot of people began to throw their money into this coin as well as Bitcoin Cash, hearing these people stand up on podiums and proclaiming, I know Satoshi, I am Satoshi, I created this, I did this, Bitcoin is supposed to be this way. And instead of following actual logic and realizing that these people might have been charlatans and or snake oil salesmen, for those of you who English is not your first language, is basically like someone who makes up stuff. Like you can be like, oh, you see that piece of paper there? I can make oil from it. Do you want to buy it? And you buy a bottle and paper doesn't make oil. That leads us to where we currently are right now, and I believe it is the fixing of a gigantic mistake, and there's still another one to be fixed as well. Coinbase has recently come out and announced that they are going to be selling all of their remaining Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's Vision that they have in their wallets by January 2024. This coin over the last couple of years has been delisted by a large number of platforms after, if you get a chance to look into the news, after it was alleged, or we saw within the news that we received as the public, that apparently a lot of ongoings or doings or potential alleged happenings behind the scenes were less than normal, and therefore a lot of people began to say that they were no longer going to be supporting this chain. This chain Bitcoin Cash and about a good 5,000, that is not a fake number, 5,000 other coins in this space should not exist. As it stands right now, we maybe only need between 15 to 20 different blockchains, and that is a very firm only, O-N-L-Y, written in stone. Why? Because nearly all of these chains, all of these protocols can do the exact same thing. So needing multiples of the multiples of the multiples and copies of the extra multiples is absolutely nonsensical. We don't need them. So people are beginning to finally backtrack. And I do hope that at some point we get to a point where Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, and Gemini become brave enough to only list between 15 to 20 coins on their platform. I don't think we'll ever get there. I think the number could be whittled down to 40 for the sake of them making money as a crypto exchange and not trying to lose market share to some other crappy exchange which then lists everything, some brand new exchange who might pop up. But the coins that remain in the news, you've seen this channel, you've read the news. They kind of remain the same. The coins that are being adopted by institutions, by companies, by banks, by countries, it's maybe, and I say two handfuls as, 5 fingers on each hand. There's not really a lot of coins out there. So Coinbase finally announcing that they're going to be cleaning their mistake after all these years when this coin should have never been listed in the first place is a good step towards a more solid and concrete cryptocurrency space and market. Because the problem is when new people get into our market, as we are going to see a massive influx of people getting into the space over the course of 2024 and 2025, when they're looking for things to buy, and this was the problem before, people hear that Bitcoin is it. Bitcoin is the thing that they need to own. And then they look around and see that there are multiple other coins called Bitcoin. So they go, well, that one's 60,000. I don't have 60,000, but that one's $12. What happens if I buy a lot of that? And this is where these cycles begin. People use their hard-earned money. They look for a place to invest it. They decide to do it in crypto. They move into crypto. They don't know where to put their money because nearly every other crypto YouTuber is just showing you charts and telling you the news about these terrible other coins that are going nowhere. I hate the videos. It drives me crazy. They'll make videos for you that shows that this coin has gone up by 21%, and they'll show you the coin's chart. And they tell you that it looks good. They tell you that it looks golden. There's a golden exchange. There's a golden pass. There's a golden metric. And a lot of people not knowing what to do with their money in this space throw their money into garbage. The coin collapses, they lose all of their money, and then they lose faith in the cryptocurrency space. It keeps happening over and over. That's why it's very important for you listening to this to be knowledgeable about the space and to spread that knowledge. Coinbase plans to liquidate the remaining BSV holdings they have in their wallets by January of 2024. Cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase is set to completely remove Bitcoin's hard fork, Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's Vision, from its platform following its delisting back in 2021. Someone wrote on Twitter, Coinbase is finally saying goodbye to BSV. And they show like a little thing right here from Coinbase's website as well. In an email letter to their customers, Coinbase said they will stop supporting BSV on the 9th of January of next year at or around noon Eastern Standard Time. The US-based trading platform added that those who fail to withdraw their BSV coins until the deadline, these coins will then be liquidated. Basically, Coinbase will sell your coins, but at that point, you've known for multiple months that you should have taken it off, and they want it off their platform, so they're going to liquidate anything that's left. They said, upon liquidation, your BSV will be converted to the then equivalent market value of another supported digital asset and credited back to your account, minus any transaction costs, end quote. This was quite big, popular, spoken about news. I'm very happy that it is happening. I mean, I really mean this. We need to move on as a community. We need to move on as a cryptocurrency space from all of these things. I mentioned years ago, no one should have been touching any other Bitcoin fork. They were all nonsense from the very beginning. And I say that as from the multitude of coins, there were about 5 or 6 of them. Only 2 gained in, really strong prominence. However, from those 5 or 6 coins, if you looked at the history of the people who created them, I'm winking in your direction. It was kind of a red flag from the very beginning. There are a multiple of other coins that also need to be delisted from cryptocurrency exchanges. However, I hope that we eventually do get there, but this is a very, very strong beginning. We also have been getting a lot of news about trading pair delistings, not even just from BSV, but many other coins as well. And also margin pair delistings and other things like that. And I hope that they remain. Sometimes when the market picks back up during a bull run, crypto exchanges tend to relist these coins because they have, or they could potentially have more trading volume. But we are currently in the situation where we don't need more than 15 or 20 coins. They could literally control and run and rule the entire space, and we'd be just fine with them. We'd also be able to consolidate prices a lot more and have more stable coin prices. And also, if people got into the market, they'd be choosing from these 15 amazing coins as opposed to, bit of a different video, bit of a different vibe, but I saw this and I thought it personally quite appropriate to make it into a video simply because of the long, long legacy of people trying to make sure that they profited from the potential destruction and price collapses of Bitcoin. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but there are always, every single day, new people and companies talking about that they've made the new coin, they've made the new Bitcoin. A lot of that has switched into, we are the new Ethereum, we're the new coin that's going to take over Ethereum, because I think people have realized that Bitcoin is far too strong. But always remember, and I mean explicitly, to do your own research in ways that you can. I know it's a bit difficult a lot of times because the other research out there tends to also be garbage as well if you're looking at a lot of other crypto YouTubers and certain websites. But, do what you can to try and stay diligent, and also just look at the news. You may get news that a coin has popped up by 25% in a week. But is that coin being used? Is it being adopted? Do people want to use it? Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's Vision, for those of you who don't know, is the popular coin. We were told years ago that this was like, they had so many transactions and everyone was using it. And people found out that there was a weather app. You can Google it. There was a weather application that was doing 99% of their transactions. It was apparently just people were clicking on their phones over and over, and those were the transactions that were tied to this coin. It's been garbage from the beginning, and I hope it's exponentially that all of your portfolios never had this coin inside of it. I'm telling you, look, you hold certain coins that you should not hold. In the bottom of your heart. I do sincerely hope that you enjoyed this history review. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See